Hey there, in this video we'll be looking at how you as a student can access results and feedback from Blackboard assignments and tests after they've been graded by your instructor. Let's get started. So to begin with, here we are logged in as a sample student, and the first thing to do is to find in the left sidebar to find the My Grades button over here. Depending on your school or your instructor, that might be titled a little bit differently. It might be called See My Grades or something like that, but most of the time it's called something related to My Grades. So we'll just click on that. So here's a roster of all the grades for this student in the course so far. At the top in the blue shading, you've got averages based on all of the assessments, the assignments, and tests so far, including the weighted total and the current letter grade in the course. Now, obviously, these are all provisional, and we expect them to go up or down as the semester proceeds. The individual assignments are in these white bars, in this case a little bit further down. And the first thing to notice is that all the things in blue text are hyperlinks, and you can click on those for more information of some sort. In this case, this student has taken one assignment and also one test to date, and obviously you can see the numerical score for this assignment and this test. But here we're interested in getting a little bit more information about what happened here. Now, with the assignment, and this first assignment was called 1.1 Hello World, one of the links here would take you to view the rubric that was used to grade the assignment, if your instructor does that like I do. We'll come back to that in a little bit. But the first thing I'm going to do here is just click on the title of the assignment or test, is usually the basic thing. So I'm just going to click on 1.1 Hello World, the title of that first assignment. So here we go to the assignment submission history, and first of all, it pulls up the specific assignment. In this case, it was a C++ program source code file that was submitted. Over here on the right, you can see the specific grade that kind of repeats what was on the prior screen. If the instructor gave you feedback on this screen, it would show up here. If your instructor used the rubric for grading like I do, then you could click on this grid over here on the right to view the specific rubric about the details about how the grade was formed. So let's do that right now. So that brings up this rubric detail screen, and if your instructor, again like me, is using the rubric grading, then you're going to see a number of rows which are categories that were being graded. In this particular case, I was using 5 for this assignment, and the possible qualifications for how well a student did in this. And in this particular rubric, we're using 3 categories of either poor, fair, or good. And in the different blocks, you can see the specific definitions for these grade levels that were set up in advance. And you can see the specific number of points that could be awarded for that. And the things that are checked off are the things that were picked by the instructor to actually provide the points in this case. So hopefully you can look in those things that are checked off and see the description of it. And you can see specifically how that grade was decided on based on the prior rubric. Now, in addition to that, if there was something unique or special that needed to be communicated to the student, that's going to show up under this bold-faced feedback. So that little piece right here, like in this case, this student was using an unusual way of printing information on the screen that's really from the C language. It really wasn't supposed to be C++, like this program was intended to be written. So the stuff under feedback is unique to you, written from the instructor specifically to you, and the other stuff was the predefined qualities of these grading levels, and hopefully they're self-explanatory at this point. And that's how you're going to get results and feedback from an assignment. Let's click on exit here. I'm going to go back to My Grades. Now, the other thing we're interested in is what does it look like when a test gets the results at the end of it. So we'll look at this test 1 practice that this student took. Again, you can see the points over here. Click on the name of the test to begin with. And you can kind of see this minimalist screen that gives you the assessment details. And obviously it says when the test was taken and the grade over here. Notice that this grade, in this case, this 15 points, again, is in blue. So hopefully you have the intuition now. That's a hyperlink, and we can click on that for more information. So that's what we're going to do here is click on the number of the grade under calculated grade. And depending on how much information your instructor releases after the test is taken, you're going to see a whole bunch more detail on this screen. Here's some statistics, again, about when it was taken and how long it took and so forth. And at least for me, I release for every single question, I release what the student picked and also what the correct answer was. So to begin with, and this can be modified by your instructor, they can give you more or less information, but this is what I do in my courses, which is kind of a middle ground. So to begin with, we have a bunch of multiple choice questions, and you can see the selected answer from the student next to the correct answer from the test itself. And you can see that the student got question 1 and question 2 correct. Question 3, they did not get right. And that kind of shows up here as this red X was the thing that they submitted that was not correct. And you can see the correct answer next to it. So that's how the multiple choice shows up. And the student did pretty well. Again, question 6 wasn't right. And the student can see here of what they should have said, what the correct answer was. A little bit further down, we have calculated values questions that can possibly generate a number of different questions. These might differ for each student, but you can see the question, you can see what the student submitted in the input box, and you can see what the correct answer again should have been. So they got question 11, 12 right. They did not get question 13 right, so they can compare what they input versus what the correct answer was in that case. Hopefully that will give them some additional guidance. These were all right here. Now, question 16 was technically an essay question. In my course, what I would ask my students to do at this point is to write a test script for a particular program specification. And at the top, again, is what the student entered for this test script in this essay type question. Here's the correct answer that was put in by me, the instructor. And in this case, if you look really, really closely, the student scored 4 points out of 5 here. And if you look closely, one of the 5 lines doesn't match up between what they selected and what the correct answer was. So in this case, there's no specific response feedback given. Hopefully the student can see what was incorrect, which line doesn't match up there. And then the last question here in my course was a programming question done by a file upload facility. So the student would actually write a program and then upload the source code to this question here. And here's a link to the code that they actually input if they want to see it again. And in this case, the student scored 3 out of 5 points. And what's listed next to response feedback here is specific response to that specific student. So here's again some unique or particular things that the student needs to pay better attention to write a better program in the future. And again, response feedback is specific things that the instructor has written to you, the individual student. So you should really go look at that very closely and use that as an opportunity for improvement in the future. Okay, and that's what's available for the testing feedback. And we'll just go back at this point. So hopefully that gives kind of a good scope for the information that's available in the My Grades tool on Blackboard and how you can get additional feedback on both assignments and tests there. And it takes a couple screens to find your way there, so hopefully you'll find that pretty easily in the future, and that'll improve your performance in courses going forward. So I hope that helps, and I'll see you next time.